I can turn into a fish. Chapter 27, Comeback. Chu Xian sat inside Jin Sen's Land Rover and examined it with jealousy. Brother Jin, your car really isn't cheap. It's premium grade and cost more than 3 million RMB, Jin Sen said with a smile. Are you looking to buy a car? I have a friend whose family owns a Ford store. I can bring you to take a look. I'm planning to, but I'm not sure which car to buy yet. Chu Xian nodded. What's your price range? I can suggest some cars for you. Jin Sen turned to look at him with interest. N. Chu Xian thought for a bit. About 1 or 2 million RMB. I'm considering an SUV. Land Rover, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche will probably all fit the bill. I personally recommend the Land Rover, only the manliest men drive them, Jin Sen said. We'll talk more when the time comes. I haven't thought it all through yet. Chu Xian smiled and decided to buy a Land Rover for himself and also a BMW for Xiao Ying. Even though she didn't have a driver's license, she could always take lessons after he gave her the car. Haiqing City was a tourist city filled with tourists all year long. This time, Golden Dragon Group's newest holiday resort was built near the sea. The entire area was up to 10 square hectometers large and took Golden Dragon Group 2 to 3 years to acquire the land. There were beaches, townhouses, and a swimming pool on the property. All in all, it was very beautiful and could accommodate 2,000 guests. The entrance of the resort was marked by a huge arched structure, and just inside was the word welcome in glass. The glass was hollowed out in the shape of an aquarium and was decorated inside with some precious stones and plants very colorful and beautiful indeed. Jin Sen saw Chu Xian's astonished expression and said proudly, the design is pretty good, and the ornamental fish we got from you will eventually be transferred here. All the lights will be turned on in the evening and it'll look very pretty. Tisk tisk. It really is hard to imagine that $1 million ornamental fish will be put here. How luxurious, Chu Xian said with a sigh of admiration. Haha. Jin Sen laughed. It's all about face, and it's also good for publicity and our reputation. I'll get someone to take the goldfish from you. People came over at Jin Sen's command and placed the goldfish into the tanks on the ends. The 2 koi fish were placed in the center. Welcome is 4 characters in Chinese. Although the characters were linked together, there were barriers in the middle so the koi fish couldn't intermingle with the goldfish. Now with the ornamental fish placed inside the word welcome, everything really came alive. The beautiful goldfish and colorful koi made it look very beautiful and pleasing. After this was done, Jin Sen took Chu Xian on a tour of the resort. Growing up, Chu Xian had never been to a place as luxurious as this, and it really opened his eyes. In the afternoon, Chu Xian went back to the store and called his mom while transferring 100,000 RMB home. When his mother heard that he was a big earner now, she was very happy, and she kept exclaiming in wonder and amazement. After hanging up, Chu Xian called his father. His father was a peasant worker at the age of 50, still working in back-breaking construction. After half an hour, Chu Xian finally convinced his dad to quit his job and enjoy some time at home. He promised to visit home at least twice a month. Chu Xian could imagine how happy his parents were. He'd been poor growing up, but now he had money and hoped his parents could live out their days happily into old age. This was his most important duty as a son. The next morning, Chu Xian took a cab to the car market section of Haiqing City. The car market had the most Ford stores. Merchants there included Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Porsche etc. However, Chu Xian didn't seek out Jin Sen's friend because he didn't want to owe him too many favors. He walked into the Land Rover Ford store without much knowledge about cars, but now that he was rich, he didn't have to be modest or low-key. As a man, his car would represent his status in many ways. Chu Xian knew how to enjoy himself and he also enjoyed attracting attention. Now that he was making lots of money, why shouldn't he buy a luxury car? There were many kinds of Land Rovers, ranging from 700,000 to 4 million RMB. In order to transport ornamental fish, he planned to buy a big car. After researching online, he'd narrowed his choices to a Land Rover and a Benz. Chu Xian's entrance didn't attract much attention, but he also didn't attract any cliché discrimination. Surrounded by so many luxury cars, he didn't know how to choose. Here were all these cars he didn't even dream of having before, but now, he was considering which one to purchase. After looking around for 10 minutes, Chu Xian stopped beside a black Land Rover. "Miss, can I sit inside and check it out?" Chu Xian waved at a pretty auto dealer. She looked at him and was a little surprised. "Of course you can. This is the new Ranger Rover that came out in 2016. There's also a fridge and a TV inside." The pretty dealer introduced the car professionally, but Chu Xian didn't understand much and could only smile speechlessly. He took a seat in the car. "Not bad, not bad." After sitting down and getting a feel for the car, he nodded, very satisfied. He asked the pretty dealer, "How much is this car?" The pretty dealer answered with a gentle smile, "Sir, this car's price is 1.86 million, and with all the extra installations, it'll come to 2 million RMB. The pretty dealer said all this to him, assuming he wouldn't buy the car. After all, Chu Xian's outfit was very normal, and he didn't look rich. "Oh, 2 million? Chu Xian nodded, and after thinking for a bit, he said, "I'll pay in full for it today. When can I take it home?" "Heh, we have this car in stock right now. If you pay for it up front, you can drive it home today," the pretty dealer answered with a smile. "Okay, then I'll take this one." Chu Xian nodded. She was astonished and asked, "You want this car? Right now?" Chu Xian heard the change in her tone. He nodded with a smile and said, "I'll pay now." "Okay," the pretty dealer said excitedly. This was like a meat pie falling from the heavens. "If you please, follow me." Chu Xian nodded and followed. About an hour later, the pretty dealer saw him to the door attentively and asked for his phone number, saying if there were any problems, it'd be easier to get in contact with him. Chu Xian smiled but didn't say anything. The store took care of everything regarding the temporary license and insurance, and Chu Xian enjoyed special treatment as if he was an emperor. He couldn't help but sigh. Money really was a good thing to have. Driving a 2 million RMB Land Rover on the road, Chu Xian felt great. This loser had made an amazing comeback.